We're going live.
Yay.
Hello, and welcome to God's Hookups television show. This is Dr. Barbara Young, your host, and this is a show that features up close and personal interviews with guests from all walks of life who share their stories about unexplainable blessings, successful events, and extraordinary miracles and encounters that can only be of God's hookup. You will receive hope, enlightenment, encouragement that will feed your spirit and your soul. Now, to my guest today. Well, hello and welcome to God's Hookups today. I'm Dr. Barbara Young, your television host for today. And do I have a guest for you? I have Miss Erica Stotts Pearson from Memphis, Tennessee, who's running for Congress, the 8th district in Tennessee. We're so happy to have her. And let me tell you, I met her 3 years ago at the Congressional Black Caucus in Washington, D.C., along with Jesse Chisholm, who won his seat in Congress. And now here we have Erica. I met both of them together, and I was so impressed with her. But I want to share just a little bit. Erica, welcome to the show. Welcome.
I'm so glad to be here. It's an amazing, wonderful day to be alive, and great opportunities are abounding all over the place.
And I just want to share a little bit about you, because you have such a background that I don't think many people know. That number one, you come from a very iconic family who have, actually your family has produced some of the most iconic figures in government. Let me put it that way. The first Black fire chief of Memphis Fire Department was Carl Stotts, and his daughter Shelby was a circuit county judge, Rita Stotts. And her father, William Oliver Pearson, was an aeronautical engineer who designed Boeing 757s.
That's my dad.
Emma Jean Scott Pearson was an educator for over 44 years in the Memphis School District. And your grandmother, girl, this is something, because I had to share it. Your grandmother, Sanya Davis Pearson, sat on the board of directors at UCLA in California, and Angela Davis, civil rights activist, whom I had the pleasure of meeting years ago, is your first cousin. Talk about a family. Oh my God. But I just have to take a few minutes to share this. Erica, you carried on the family tradition of being educated. You obtained multiple degrees, I know, in economics, finance, and engineering. As well, you pursued a Master of Science degree in sports and leisure commerce. You were also one of the first women, a lot of people don't know that, in the Tennessee area to manage a professional women's basketball association team, Memphis Blues. And when I learned about you, I just like, oh my God. And you secured championships for that team. Yes, you did. So I just wanted to share that. And so you have done so much that it's incredible, but you have a sterling record. I know you as being an educator, a woman who loves people. You're a second-time nominee for the 8th Congressional District in Tennessee. You're a woman of faith. You're also an ordained minister. I don't know how you do this. You're a small business owner, but I know that you place your faith in, you honor your faith, you love your family, and education is first. So today, I just want you to share your little God's hookups and how it steered you to run the second time for Congress.
Well, it's amazing how God works in our lives, because in the 2018 cycle, God spoke clearly and said you would run for an office. And I was like Moses and said, oh, no, I can't do that. I don't speak well. I can't do. And God said, well, I'm not asking you, it's a command. It's a directive. And, the human side of us always says, well, it's impossible to get this done. This is insurmountable. I've had friends who are sitting congressmen and, I've been and worked on their campaigns and seen how difficult of a process it was and very tedious. And I just said, well, I don't want to go through a process like that. And God clearly said, where you're going through the process, but it will not be the normal process, in your campaign. And so I'm the untraditional candidate in that. And I'm very unapologetic about it because my faith truly comes first. And so I still have carpet burns from this morning, because, I'm always in my prayer closet and I'm always laid up. And then my team goes, what is she doing? And then I come up out of there and they go, oh, well, we know what she's doing because, the Holy Spirit has now downloaded what is to happen in the course and cycle that we will follow. And once we truly follow exactly what's given, so he gives the vision and then it's written down, So when we talk about in political terms, organize, mobilize, and strategize, right? Well, nobody can organize, mobilize, strategize better than the Holy Spirit, because once he clearly gives you that vision, and then you bring that vision down from heaven into the natural realm through the manifestation, and you hit the ground running. So many times Christians go, well, I don't have the money. I don't have this. God's not asking for that. He's just asking for you to be willing and to participate, right? Because he brings all of those resources and things to you. And so many times we miss out just because we're afraid to move.
Right.
And so we cannot be afraid to move, because that's the ultimate hookup, that he downloads a piece of himself inside of each one of us because he created us. And once we are fully connected and plugged in, it's just like a lightning rod, and you got to move. Like, you can't stay still. I've got to share the gospel. I've got to help people understand that their circumstances are not permanent, and in COVID-19, it is so important because we're seeing so many people that have been stressed out, due to financial reasons, the evictions, all these things piling up. And it's both a spiritual and political battle for me, on both fronts, right? Because God definitely wants his people to be secure. He's made it clear that we are secure regardless of what's going on around us. And so now is the time that we're truly seeing people for what their faith level really is.
Yes.
And that's the ultimate hookup, that you can walk around in today's times and you can galvanize the people around you, that are just so stressed out and going through. They see you and they go, man, it's just not only that you're running for an office, but just you come with these encouraging words and you're like, it's going to be okay. And we know that you'll truly be the healing that West Tennessee needs.
Now, the thing that my question is, because I know a lot of people ask, you were second-time nominee. And so the first time we didn't succeed. How did that make you feel? Did you feel like saying, Lord, you must have got the wrong person, or must have got it wrong, because I didn't win? How did you feel? Did you go back and have to say, oh, we need to have a little talk, Lord?
No. Right? On election day, the party was so electric and exciting. And the bishop that I report to, because it was so interesting how the election was November 5th, November 15th, I was being ordained, an apostle. And so it was amazing. So that's all I was really thinking about. Not even the election. It was just like, oh, I've got this big ordination coming up and I'm so excited. So we had praise and worship in there. And my bishop reminded me, he said, I'm just turning off the TV, in this facility that we were in, and everybody's in different rooms, and it's a beautiful facility in Covington, Tennessee, in one part of my district. And he says, because something's had to be a glitch, because we know we clearly heard from God what was said, and that's what we're standing on. And so we immediately went to the scripture and we started quoting how Joseph went from the pit, right? So he went from the comfort of his parents' home to the pit, with his brothers, being sold into slavery, right? And then he went into prison, and then coming out into Potiphar's house, dealing with the issues with, Potiphar's wife, to now becoming commander in chief, right, over Egypt, right? And so the words were clearly spoken. And so everyone in the room said, you are our commander in chief in West Tennessee. So I think it just fueled me more. Matter of fact, people were walking around the room and, we were looking at the numbers coming in, and And I remember one of my closest friends in Memphis, who comes from another iconic family, the Sugarman family, she just walks up to me and she was like, I am so sorry. And I didn't even know what she was talking about. Right? So, and she tells everybody, you know, because I wasn't keeping up with any of that. We know clearly what God said, and that is the trajectory that we are on. And so, you know, people have to see in a time such as this, for a time such as this, like Esther, I was called and I have to deliver the people from West Tennessee from some of the things that have really been afflicting us, you know, and not just politically, but spiritually, because we're a spiritually based state. I mean, the Bible is our state book, right? You know, and so this new governor that we have has been very prolific about putting prayer back in the schools. And he's been very prolific about, you know, the abortion ban and things like that. And so it's been a real adjustment, you know, in the state,
Right.
For some people that are, you know, a little bit more to the left, right? You know, they're not really understanding all of this, but I'm understanding because God clearly spoke that this would happen, and that's what we're seeing now.
So what is your big platform and that you will bring should you be if elected? Well, I'm going to say once you're elected, what
Yes.
do you bring to the platform? Because I know that you're really, really interested in education, and you have a lot of initiatives that you want to change. And believe me, I know Tennessee can use some changes in education. So what are some of the things that you are chatting about and as you on the campaign trail?
Right. Well, one of the important things is, you know, all of us want environments where we can work, worship, and play safely, right? You know, and that's what our government provides, you know, and we've seen with the initiatives with COVID-19 where there was some preparation made that was not utilized. And now, you know, this is what has happened. And so in talks, even, you know, with the governor here, you know, we want to make sure that educators are able to stay motivated.
Yes.
We want them to work in healthy, secure environments, you know, as well as the children. But, you know, for one, we need increased teacher pay, which we've not seen that with this current administration in our state. He's actually gone against increasing pay and bonuses. And that's just so unfair, you know, because teachers are working so hard. And now through COVID-19, having to work, you know, digitally, you know, that is something that just is a must, that must, you know, take place. Something else as well, you know, even equity, you know, in the workplace. So when we talk about in my district, it needs so much job creation, you know, and so we want to work specifically to overturn some of these tariffs. And when we talk about manufacturing, so I talk about it on both sides. From the farming side, I've got farmers who want to farm. Like my family's had a farm since 1834. We don't farm anymore. Right? Farmers are getting subsidies in my district, and they're not happy about that because they want to be able to farm. Soybean is our #1 crop. They want to be able to farm and sell from farm to table or farm to grocery store. And they're not allowed to do that, you know, because of the tariffs. So that's got to give, you know, there needs to be bills passed to unrestrict some of these tariffs that have adversely affected us. We saw Harley Davidson go overseas. We saw John Deere. And that's what I was telling our farmers. If you vote a certain way, it's going to come a time. And now that time is here, and they need resources and they can't get them because they cost so much. Right. And then even learning how to re-farm again, because some of the farmers that are older in age, the way they farmed is totally different. Now we have all this artificial intelligence and things like that to make it easier. And so they have to be trained, you know, to utilize that to produce more crops.
Absolutely.
You know, right, because we're facing food insecurity, and it's no reason because we have all of the farmers, and where my district is located, we're the distribution point of America. So it's no reason as to why we should be underutilized like this, you know. And then another thing with my veterans, I have the largest concentration of veterans in my district in the state, and we're having issues, you know, with healthcare. So we have turned down billions of dollars for Medicaid, which leaves 400,000 children in my district uninsured. That's unacceptable, right? And then veterans, our VA is the worst in the country. They wanted to shut it down, and you know. yes, it's the worst in the country. And so under the leadership of the current sitting congressman, there were all of these initiatives. One of my friends, served for several years as the congressional liaison, and several mayors in my district that came with things to return the VA around. And that has not happened. So we must have affordable housing for our veterans. We must have mental health services for them, and equity in that. As I'm talking to female veterans, they're having a hard time getting services. The male veterans, not so much. So we've got to make sure that it's equity in the system for all.
One of the things that I was intrigued about, I mean, truly, God knows what he's doing. And I'm so happy you're here to share not only your story, but what you stand for and some of the things that you want to change in the state of Tennessee. My question is, what is the average income for Tennessee, for the state of Tennessee? Because I just learned about Pennsylvania. I mean, we're looking at some of these people are really struggling. When you look at 24,000 is the average income, what is the average income for Tennessee?
Well, in my district in West Tennessee, and it's so great that you asked me that, because I look at it every cycle. So 2016 cycle, it was at about 76,000. And that's because my district has 15 counties, but it has 2 of the cities that are the wealthiest in our state. So it skews the data. So then it coming in that 18 cycle, we saw a drop from the 76 to 56 or so, which is very, scary, because that's a huge drop. And then when we talk about even the veterans, they're at about 31,000, right? And so I've got to do everything I can, to increase manufacturers coming back here. You have to have great school districts. In Memphis, out of 95 counties in our state of Tennessee, we have the lowest performing schools in the state, the lowest 5%. And we had an atrocity happen here where the districts were able to segregate out. So they resegregated again, right? And leaving the poorest schools within Shelby County schools. And so all of the richer schools have now become their own districts, Millington, Arlington, Lake. So all of these little cities now have their own school districts that were once a part, of big Memphis City schools.
I want to ask a question. This may sound really way off base, but one of the things about when we talk about redistricting, and that's what happened, is it because of the census that people didn't, maybe everybody register for the census? Because what that does is drive the redistricting. So I'm just asking that question.
We have not had the participation that we would have really liked with the census. So we're still working to drive that. But in this case, that really wasn't the case. Our Memphis City Council and School Board worked to surrender the charter. And when they surrendered the charter for the district, it opened up to allow all of these separate districts. And it directly affects our funding, because with the district as a whole, it's more funding. And now, with the district segmented and fragmented. So, right.
Yeah. Right. Oh, wow. Tennessee is one of the states we don't talk a lot about. You don't hear a lot of stuff coming out of Tennessee, at least, we're here in California. So it was just really fortuitous to have you on the show today on God's Hookups, but because you're running for office, and then a little bit of insight of what's happening in Tennessee, because I think we get so involved in California with our challenges that we're going through that we really need to realize that we're in this together, that this whole country needs to come together. We're so divided, more so than ever. And so to see an African-American woman running for Congress in Tennessee is indeed a pleasure. And I am praying, and will be on my knees in my prayer closet as well, praying for you this second time to come out as a winner. Because we know that God backs winners, not losers.
Yes, and I want to honor Dr. King's legacy for losing his life in Memphis, for this very thing, for such a time as this, of what I'm addressing. Remember, he came to Memphis for the sanitation strikes, and the sanitation workers today in 2020 in Memphis still face those same things. So, and we cannot let his life be lost in vain, because Dr. King is so iconic, so prolific, you know. And I was talking with a group of young men that were in the Invaders, the group that he talked with the night before. One of the leaders is still alive, Dr. Kobe Swift, and we were talking. You know, Dr. King has so many concerns, and it was so many things that he wanted to see for our people in terms of economic equity. And so it's ironic that we sit here in 2020, and that's one of the main things we're fighting for, you know, economic equity.
Okay. One of the things that, Erica, you just can't thank you enough for being on the show today and sharing your heart and your God's hookups, because definitely this was a God hookup. But for those out there of my viewers who would like to support Erica Stotts Pearson, where can they send a donation to you or support you? Because I am putting it up so that people can see to support. Yeah. Okay. Where can they send a donation?
They can go to my website at www.erica, ErikaStottsPearson.com. ErikaStottsPearson.com.
That's
and I am linked through Act Blue.
Okay, I've got linked. I'll go to www.Erica Pearson. Erica
Stotts Pearson.
I got it. Here we go. And I just put it on the screen.
Thank you.
Okay, so for those of you to support her, please go and support Erica Stotts Pearson. Go to her website, because I know every dollar, if it's $1, $5, we can afford to contribute to one of our sister girls in Memphis who's running for a congressional seat in the 8th district. And I just want to say, I want to wish you all of God's blessings, and thanking you so much for being on God's Hookups today, Erica. Really, it's truly been my pleasure to have you on the show.
Thank you. It's been amazing. It's a journey.
I know that God will be with you on the journey.
Yes.
So for those of you out there, I know that you've heard Erica's story today and what she stands for. More importantly, she brings a lot to the table, and also an iconic family members who really have done much for the city of Tennessee, the state of Tennessee. So, and it was really interesting that she did share her family established Edenton Farms, which spans over 134 years. And they also founded the Philadelphia Baptist Church, located in Fayette County, Tennessee. So this woman has come a long way and risen to the forefront of Memphis politics. So I really want to encourage all of you out there to say your prayers for Erica, send a donation if you can. I know I will. And I just, again, always know that we are in this together. And God is a God of hookups. And I know he's a remarkable God. And you too may be the next person to run for political office. So I want to say, this is Dr. Barbara Young. I hate to say goodbye, but it looks like I'm going to have to say goodbye to all of you out there. And we have another show coming.
Dr. Young.
And now,
say goodbye.
Thank you. We have another show coming on at 9:30 this morning. And I have another gentleman that's going to be on the show, Philip Hatfield. And no, he's on at 11:30. I beg your pardon. He personally was mentored and coached by the legendary Zig Ziglar. So you'll want to hear his story, definitely, Philip Hatfield. So I'll see you soon. I want to thank you guys so much for tuning in to God's Hookups. And I'll see you at the next show. Erica, thank you for being a guest today.